So today, first of all, I want to thank you for taking the time for yourself. As Jen said, my name is Teri Schmitchen, and I am a mindfulness-based stress reduction instructor, it's a mouthful, and director of supportive services at Angela Hospice. So I became interested in mindfulness after working in hospice for decades. And in working in this emotionally intense atmosphere, I saw so many of my colleagues suffer burnout from the extreme stress from this field. So that's when I started my journey into mindfulness. So I'm happy to share some of the techniques and strategies with you today to help you manage your own stress level. So what I'd like you to do again is, as Jen asked, please mute your microphone. This presentation is both educational and experiential, and we really invite you to open to the fullness of the experience. So we'll start out kind of talking about what is mindfulness. I'm sure that this is not an unusual phrase for you to have heard. It's really been, becoming much more popular as our stress levels increase. But it is an Eastern and Buddhist philosophy that dates back about 2,500 years. But in the 1970s, and if we can think back for those of us who might remember that time, you can remember what state our society was in. There was a lot of angst, especially surrounding the Vietnam War. So then it was Dr. Jon Kabat-Zinn who brought mindfulness kind of into the modern day by developing a program aimed at reducing the stress that he was seeing. And this is known as mindfulness-based stress reduction. So today's presentation is a springboard from that framework. The primary objectiveness, though, of mindfulness-based stress reduction is to help us learn how to manage the effects of stress. And we all have the effects of stress. There's not anyone who survives without experiencing stress. And we do this by focusing on our holistic body. So mindfulness really helps with the physicality, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And it does this by anchoring us in our bodies, and our vehicle to do that is our breath. It's here as long as we are. So as we go through the presentation, I really encourage you to kind of cultivate a curious state of mind, an observer's point of view, if you will. So some of the practices or activities might seem uncomfortable at first, but just try to release any inhibitions that you feel and really lean into the experience. So this is Jon Kabat-Zinn's description and definition. It is paying attention to our lives moment by moment, on purpose, in a certain way, and most importantly, without judgment. I think if I were to take some time to ask us all, who is our worst critic, we would probably all raise our hand, indicating ourselves. So mindfulness really helps us start to separate from our internal dialogue. And let's learn a little bit more about that. So when we talk about, well, why do we need mindfulness-based stress reduction? Well, stress truly does have impact on all of our body systems, on our musculars. You might notice a tension, a tightening of your shoulders when you're feeling very stressed. Respiratory, maybe you're noticing that you're taking shallow, quick breaths. Gastrointestinal, stomach upset, maybe you're not eating, maybe you're eating too much as a result of stress. Your central nervous system, which activates the sympathetic nervous system, which in turn causes your system to release adrenaline, again, a very altering chemical that's within our body, and cardiovascular. So that's rapid, irregular heartbeat you might experience under high levels of stress. So in order to explore where stress takes place in your body, I'm going to ask you to join me in an exercise. So I'd like us to just kind of take a moment and take a pose. If you're sitting in a seat, make sure that your feet are both sitting flatly on the floor. And if it's safe for you to do so, please begin by closing your eyes. Now, this might seem counterintuitive that we're talking about stress reduction, But the first part of reducing stress is to understand its messages to our body. What I'd like you to do now is to recall a time that you felt very stressed. It may be a recent situation, such as someone cutting you off in traffic, or a long ago disagreement with a family member. So just bring that experience to mind. And now let's see if we can go a little deeper with this. Try to remember a sensory detail about that experience. Was there a particular smell, such as the exhaust from a vehicle, a person's voice, or something visually upsetting? Try to bring those sensory details to your mind's eye right now. And now I want you to tune into your body. We're going to scan to learn where that stress takes up residence for you. Notice your muscles. Do you sense any tightness or soreness? Your breath. Are you breathing a little quicker or shallow? Your cardiovascular, do you feel your heart rate starting to increase? Or are you noticing any upset in your stomach? Are you feeling jumpy or nervous? And now I want you to take a deep inhale through your nose and let it release slowly through your mouth, feeling your body slowly releasing the stress that you've just conjured. We're going to take a deep breath in through our nose through the count of 3. In, 2, 3, and release. Exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5. And now you can slowly open your eyes and return back to the space. This exercise really helps us know how stress manifests in your body. So you know what the warning signs are of increasing stress. So we're going to provide you with a mnemonic that will help when you identify those indicators earlier, so that you'll be able to respond to your automated stress response. So it's simply stop. The first step is stop what you're doing. Turn to your breath. Observe how you're feeling and proceed with what you are doing. If you want to compound the effectiveness of this technique, you can also engage what we just did, which was the long exhale breathing technique. A longer exhale than an inhale causes your vagus nerve, which sends a signal to your brain, which activates your parasympathetic nervous system, which is your rest and digest. And it eases your sympathetic nervous system, which controls your fight, flight, or freeze. So we'll be using some of this terminology throughout. And the goal is not for you to understand all of the science behind it, but I think it's important to physiologically understand what is happening to our body when we are in a state of stress. So what happens to our body? Why does it react the way that it does? So following a perceived threat, our primal brain, which handles our automated self-preserving behaviors and patterns, it bypasses our higher functioning brain, which is also known as the prefrontal cortex, our thinking brain. And when this happens, the primitive brain, or specifically the amygdala, can flood the brain with biochemicals And that creates a reactive or an automated response rather than a mindful response. The fight, flight, or freeze response is this automated physiological reaction to an event that is perceived as stressful or frightening. The perception of a threat activates, again, your sympathetic nervous system, which manages that fight, flight, or freeze. And it triggers within you that cascade of chemicals or an acute stress response that is preparing your body to fight or flee, or in some cases, freeze. Think about the fainting goats. So this was really helpful, this design of our bodies, when our ancestors had to outrun a charging saber-toothed tiger. But we really don't encounter those anymore. And really, our perceived threat could be from a looming deadline or an unpleasant encounter with someone. So then we have to think about then what truly is the source of our stress. It's our thoughts. So when we think about our thought patterns, it's important to understand the trajectory of a thought. A thought sparks an emotion, and emotion creates a feeling. And we'll talk more about this later. But as humans, we've developed our go-to response usually about the age of 5, and some lessen throughout the years, and then some intensify. So think of our neural pathways like the water that has carved out this gorge. The deeper and the stronger these connections or neural pathways are, it means that we react to a stressful situation with our patterned responses without even being fully aware of it. So for example, if someone cuts you off in traffic and you're screaming and yelling before you really even realize what is happening. Mindfulness can really help us develop new neural pathways so that we can alter our automated responses. While our thoughts generate in our brain, we're going to look at the impact of our thoughts on our heart. So in honor of February being our Heart Health Month, let's learn a little bit about our amazing organ. First, it weighs about 10 ounces, and it's really the epicenter of your body. It has an electrical component of about 60 times greater and an electromagnetic energy field 5 times greater than the brain. And the heart has a significant influence on the body all the way to the cellular level. The brain's rhythm, along with the respiratory and blood pressure rhythms, entrain with the heart's rhythm. So I don't know if you've ever had an experience where you are listening to music and all of a sudden, mostly unconsciously, you find that you're tapping at the rhythm of the music. That process is known as entrainment. The same with our beating heart, we experience that same process through coherence. So the Math Institute and other scientific institutions, they've proven that the physical heart actually has an information processing center in the body, which sends important signals to the brain and to the rest of the body. Our brain, our heart itself, has a complex central nervous system, which is called the heart brain, and it talks to the head brain. This produces a powerful electromagnetic field that's imprinted by your emotions. So in the 1990s, the Heart Math Institute identified this physiological state called heart coherence. It's when our body systems, breathing, our heart rhythms, our brain rhythms, and our whole hormonal responses are in sync. So think back for a moment where you felt the strongest emotions: love, compassion, or joy. Most often, it starts in the center of your chest and radiates outward. The heart communicates with the brain and the body in 4 ways: neurologically, through our nervous system, biochemically, through hormones, biophysical, through our pulse wave, and energetic communication through our electromagnetic fields. Bringing awareness and focused compassion to this area of our body can result in physiological changes within our body systems. So let's experience this now that we're starting to understand a little bit more about the heart. I'm going to ask you again to join me in a brief exercise. And this is called our heart-focused breathing quick coherence. So again, I invite you to take a comfortable seat and start with your feet firmly on the ground. And you can begin by closing your eyes if it's safe to do so, or just assuming a soft gaze. Now focus your attention in the area of the heart. Try to imagine that the energy up in the head is now flowing down into the heart. Keep your focus there and breathe deeply and slowly in a casual, steady rhythm. Just finding your own comfortable pace. Now imagine your breath flowing in and out of your chest area, your heart. Breathing a little slower and a little deeper than usual. Find an easy rhythm that's comfortable. Now I would like you to activate a positive, renewing feeling. Perhaps you can experience a time where you felt love or appreciation for a person, a pet, a moment in nature, a proud accomplishment. If you cannot recall a strong memory, you can just breathe in an attitude of love or gratitude. Feel that experience growing within your heart area. Feel the warmth generating. Imagine a warm glow around your heart center. And now imagine that glow spreading throughout your body, up to your head, moving down over your shoulders, down to your arms and your fingers, down through your chest area, down into your belly, into your hips, down your legs, and encircling your feet. Now take a deep inhale through your nose and gently release this warm glow throughout your mouth. When you are ready, open your eyes to return to this space. So let's talk about our emotions and what they really are. So they are chemical reactions in your body. Feelings are how we interpret those emotions. So for example, you might be asked to do a presentation. And you might have an emotional response, such as an increased heart rate, muscle tension. These physical sensations then are interpreted by our conscious mind, which labels them as a feeling, such as fear. Over time, our hearts are literally shaped by our emotions and moods. Just as we know that we can rewire our brain's connections with neuroplasticity, the structure and function of the heart may undergo changes in response to our emotions. One form is known as cardiac plasticity. An extreme example of this you may have heard about is stress cardiomyopathy, which is essentially dying of a broken heart. I'm convinced to this day that my dad died of a broken heart, not even 2 months after the death of my mom. But when we think about our emotions, not only negative emotions can impact the heart. Think about that warm glow. Positive, nurturing emotions such as gratitude has been scientifically proven to improve heart health. Once we understand this and we start to feel and experience this, we can start focusing on more positive, nurturing thoughts. When we are in that place of feeling those positive, nurturing thoughts, that is when our body is in true coherent state. But can mindfulness, something this simple, really help us deal with challenging thoughts and emotions? Well, it doesn't take away the overwhelming emotions, but it helps people respond to them differently. So rather than being swept away by difficult emotions or trying to avoid the feelings associated with it, mindfulness helps people become aware of what they are feeling so they are able to respond rather than react. So let's dance with our emotions a bit. So mindfulness can help distance us from our emotions. A key point to note here is that it does not mean distracting from the emotion. Mindfulness really helps us focus on the process and not the content. First, we begin by separating and becoming curious about the emotion, about the sensation, and then you lean in and take it for a whirl. So think about a campfire. You can imagine that if you stand in the flames, you're going to get burned. It would be painful, harmful, excruciating. But if you step back even 1 foot, you start to feel the benefits of the fire, the warmth, the comforting sounds of the crackles and the hiss, the pleasant aroma of the smoke, the different hues dancing in the flames. When we distance ourselves from our thoughts, it gives us a better perspective. The practice of naming or noting can be helpful in keeping our attention from getting lost in rambling thoughts. It helps us ground our experience in the body. By naming our emotional experience, we've begun to regulate our response in the brain. Objectifying or labeling the emotion or discomfort engages our prefrontal cortex or our thinking brain. So not our reactive brain, not our primitive brain, but our more evolved brain. This helps us move away from that automated response. So next time you find that you're having very strong emotions, ask yourself, is this story I'm telling myself accurate or helpful right now? Or is it just overwhelming? Once we name it, we can work with it. Now we can switch to regaining our inner balance. Once you've noted the emotion that you're feeling, such as grief or loneliness, confusion, the next step is to explore where you feel it in your body. And then you're going to tune into those sensations to really lean into them. And once you identify where that emotion is living in your body, just soften the area around that. So if you're feeling a rapid heartbeat, just bring your attention to that area and imagine your heartbeat slowing down. Dr. Kristen Neff, she's an expert on mindfulness and self-compassion, and she terms this process called soothing, softening, and allowing. So mindfulness really allows us to let go of our resistance and helps us to feel safe. We know that our emotions rise up, and if we don't resist them, they can tend to be digested, processed, and then just fade away. So think about trying to hold a beach ball under the water. The more force you put on it, the more it starts slipping side to side, eventually exploding up into the air with way more energy than it had when you started to hold it under the water. So if the ball represents our emotions, think about the different displacement of energy that happens that when instead of holding it under the water, just let it float by, all the while swimming next to it, observing it with a curious mind. So let's experience intentionally pulling in some positive emotions, such as compassion and gratitude. So once again, I invite you to join in. Find a comfortable position. Again, most effective if your feet are flat on the floor. And just start by taking a soft inhale through your nose and a gentle release through your mouth. And if you feel comfortable, and just softly let your eyes fall or close them completely. I'll start by taking a few deep breaths into the abdomen, filling up the belly and exhaling slowly. Take a deep breath in through the nostrils. And as you breathe out, just feel yourself start to soften and relax. Arrive fully in this moment. Let go of any thoughts or stories as we return back into our body. Feel the soles of your feet on the floor, the weight of your body on your chair. Now notice any sensations, vibration, pressure, tingling in your body. Feel a sense of support from the ground or the seat beneath you. Now shift your attention to your thighs and feel gravity pulling you down slightly. Remembering that you're fully supported and safe in this moment. And now bring your awareness to your shoulders. Allow a sense of relaxation and softness to permeate throughout your body. Bring your attention to the space between your eyes and the muscles of the face and the jaw. Just allowing them some kindness right now. Allowing them to relax and soften. Listen into the space around the heart. Listen deeper into this space and ask yourself, what am I needing most? See what arises. Maybe it's a sense of calm or balance, or maybe it's growth or strength or self-trust. Perhaps it's a sense of connection. Maybe it's even love. Whatever it is, allow that intention to grow in strength, to fill up the space of the heart. Like a golden light, let it fill the area of the chest. Allow that intention to find what you are needing most right now to fill up your body. Now let your intentions spill out beyond you. Begin to offer yourself some compassion. Compassion for the challenges that you faced. Offering yourself a sense of ease, a sense of nourishing, a sense of nurturing. Now see if you can begin to treat yourself like you would a child or a close friend who's going through a difficult moment. And in any difficult moment, start to ask yourself, can I simply be kind to myself right now? Even in this moment of uncertainty, pain, or discomfort, even in this moment of fear. Now let go of that intention and return to the body, into the environment, feeling supported by your feet on the floor, your thighs in the chair. Now offer some gratitude to your body, sitting here breathing, and the gratitude for all of those who are on this webinar with us today, experiencing this, just breathing, just being, and feeling that sense of connection. And when you're ready, you can gently open your eyes and just bring some movement back into your shoulders, your fingers, your hands, if that feels right for you. So now that we're learning that we don't necessarily have to run away from our emotions, when we avoid our emotions, it seems that they take on a life of their own. So I'm going to teach you the handshake practice. And as the name suggests, the aim of the handshake method is to meet and make friends with upsetting feelings, to know them rather than to avoid them or to fix them. Our bodies are magically made. Our emotions are messages that something is going really well or something is going really wrong. If they're going really wrong, what we want to do is tune into the disturbing emotion mindfully to that message it's trying to send us, without judgment and with full acceptance of whatever thoughts or feelings come up. But if you're experiencing trauma, this is not a good technique to use. So I want to caution you for that. So the handshake method is made up of 4 steps. First, meeting the emotion, being the emotion, waiting with it, and communicating. The goal is to let the emotions dissipate by making friends and accepting whatever comes, whatever message it is trying to tell you. By paying attention to what comes up in the mind and the body without judgment is the essence of mindfulness. But what do we do with those difficult emotions that rise up? I'm going to share with you one last technique. This was developed by Hospice, and as an ambassador, I'm happy to teach it to you. It's going to help you find your brave space by retraining your nervous system to allow emotional pain and peace to sit side by side without fear. The effectiveness of the anchoring heart technique starts with the decision to change your relationship with your uncomfortable feelings. It requires courage to decide to connect with all the parts of self, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the beautiful. Making the decision to reckon your feelings that are separating you from you will decrease your fear of emotions that you may try to numb out. It will increase your tolerance of discomfort so that you can grow into who you are meant to be. This technique allows you to retrain your brain and the synapses in your nervous system, which allows emotional pain and peace to sit side by side, but without fear. So let's look at why that works. Usually when you're calm and relaxed, your energy usually resides low and deep within yourself. You might report feeling open or grounded or peaceful, content. But when we're beside ourselves, you feel very different. That's because this anxious energy usually climbs up from the depths of your belly into your chest. Your voice rises in pitch, breathing becomes very shallow. You might report feeling freaked out. You can't have a coherent and cohesive thought. As an act of self-compassion, you can use this when you feel anxious, hurt, angry, powerless. It can be used when you are in need of more strength, courage, or even patience. So there's 3 simple steps that we're going to do together in a few minutes. But first, let me tell you what they're going to be. First, you're going to begin by placing one or both hands firmly or tenderly on your heart. And so firmly is the operative word here. It's not just putting your hand over your heart like you do for the Pledge of Allegiance. It needs to be firmly enough to create a sensation in your body that registers in your brain. It's making that body-mind connection. And then once you do that, breathe deeply. The second step is to get real with what you're feeling. To feel whatever you're feeling and trying not to feel. The good, the bad, the ugly, and the beautiful. It's like that famous saying goes, you can't heal what you don't feel. However, the chatter in our head often drowns out the whispers of our heart. And yet it's what's in our heart that awakens us to the realness of our experience. These first 2 steps create a conditioned response in the brain that helps you associate feelings with keeping your heart open so that you can feel your experience. But the 3rd step does something more. The 3rd step engages your being. Engaging your being starts with simply becoming curious about the place inside of you that's strong enough to hold whatever you're feeling without being afraid of it. This is one of the most important steps. This third step connects you to that hero within that is in your heart, and it's holding your pain for you right now, whether you know it or not. This is how you create space for grace. It's not enough to ventilate your feelings. Feelings pass, feelings change, but it's about befriending them. Befriending the part of yourself holding those feelings so that you can be fully conscious, fully awake to yourself. So let's try this technique together. So again, please making sure that you're seated in a chair, with your feet firmly on the ground. Just lower your eyes or allow them to close completely, whatever you prefer. Now place one or both hands firmly and tenderly on your heart, applying enough pressure that you can feel the sensation. And now breathe deeply. Breathe deeply. Going to take about 10 seconds to really tune in to the realness of yourself, to sincerely feel whatever you're feeling or trying not to feel. Just notice what's going on in your heart, not in your head. Giving permission for your heart to open to whatever it's feeling, not what it's supposed to feel, but what it's really feeling. And now become fully present to yourself. Become still. Become the stillness. And now become curious about this brave space within you. It's not afraid of your emotional pain. It's not afraid of your goodness, of your beauty. Feel you connecting with your being. This is where your real self dwells. Now bring this sense of connectedness and wholeness with you as you take one more deep breath in and slowly become more aware of the sensations in your body. Noticing any tingling in your feet, in your hands, any vibrations. Slowly open your eyes if you've closed them. As you prepare to move on with your day, bring with you the sense of how to let pain and peace sit side by side together without fear and know you have the ability to embrace joy and beauty wherever you find it. So thank you for taking the time today for you. It's my hope that you learn some easy to use tools and techniques to nurture your heart center using mindfulness. So at this time, I'd like to go ahead and open it up for any questions.
Thanks so much, Teri. So wonderful and appreciative of not only your time, but your talent. Um, One question that has come across, and it says they were very appreciative of the fact that you were mindful, and they used that word, that some people were possibly listening to this while they were driving or not in a place where they could center their thoughts and calm themselves. And they were asking, did you have any tips or advice that you could give us that was something, and they said in the moment, and I'm going to interpret it, and I won't reveal the person that's asking the question, but if they would like to jump in. I think when I think of in the moment of, I'm in the car, for instance, and it's a stressful traffic situation, and I just need to center myself, but obviously closing my eyes is not advantageous at that point. So maybe this person's looking for some mindfulness in the moment, possibly in a car situation.
Absolutely. So tracing ourselves back to the definition of what mindfulness is, it's really anchoring our awareness in the body. And so when we do close our eyes, it helps us concentrate or focus better on those sensations. But you can certainly do this. As example, one of the first techniques we learned was the stop technique. And what this does is it stops that automated response. It stops that chemical dump of cortisol, of adrenaline, by making sure that you're conscious of your awareness. So for example, if you're sitting in traffic and you're late, or somebody's yelling at you, this is something that somebody watching from the outside in is not even going to realize that you're doing, but you just stop what you're doing, you turn inward. You turn to your breath. Remember, our breath is our vehicle to always keep us centered back into our body. It's always with us. If it's not with us, we're no longer here. So just turning towards your breath, noticing the sensation of the air going down the back of your throat. Observe how you're feeling. Am I anxious? Labeling it. Am I anxious? Am I scared? Am I angry? Am I furious? Whatever that is, when we start to label it, it starts to give us that one sense of separation from it. It's no longer us, but it's something we're doing. That's an important distinction. And then proceed that quick. It can take anywhere from 5 to 10 seconds to stop that, as long as we're becoming conscious of what is going on, conscious of our thoughts. I think if we think about how we spend most of our day, we spend most of our day unconsciously. We're in the storyline that we keep telling ourselves. So it's mindfulness is going to bring us out of that, make us more aware of the thoughts, which then spark emotions, which then trigger feelings. So I hope that helped. There's a number of many free apps, such as Insight Timer. There's a lot of different mindfulness apps that give you very brief. That's the beauty about mindfulness is while it could be considered a form of meditation, it's much easier because it's not over an extended period of time. But studies have shown the effectiveness of using these techniques to bring down, to regulate our heart rate, to de-excite our central nervous system. So there are a lot of benefits of using mindfulness.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Teri. I know Teri has a this crammed schedule, just like just about every one of us these days, it seems like, but I'm sure we have a time for one more question, and why you're thinking of that, and just unmute yourself and ask the question, or of course you can ask it in the chat. And Vicky did ask if we would be able to see this recording again. And Catherine in our office has reached out, but I just wanted to let everybody know, as we shared in the beginning, this presentation has been recorded. It will be posted on our website. Again, that's askforangela.com. It will be posted in the next couple days. But also in the meantime, you can always go to our website and see previous Angela Cares presentations. Teri has a couple on. Some of the other co-workers and team members here at Angela Hospice have some on there as well. And there's also some training videos and educational opportunities that you can, of course, reach out and take a look for yourself. And Teri has just shared some resources as well. But you can see those, as well as events, other opportunities, our support group listings that are all on our website, which is askforangela.com. As I just do a couple of little things here, and then I'll give a last call out for any questions. We have several upcoming opportunities for you to be involved and come and be working with us at Angela Hospice. One of the things, and these were on the scroll in the very beginning of the presentation. And again, if you missed them, you can go to our website. But we have a multiverse of grief workshop that we are conducting. This is a live webcast being broadcast, and we are just hosting the facility here. You can come to our building and see that, and that's going to be on March 19th at noon. A registration is required for that event, so please log on to our website. We are so pleased that our fabulous grief care department here at Angela Hospice has brought out some new workshops and opportunities for the community to get involved with. And our first one will be taking place on April 5th, and it's called Cooking for One. And it is a in-person experience here at Angela Hospice. Registration is free for the event, but it is required again. So look for that on our website, Cooking for One, on April 5th at 2 o'clock. And even though the sun is shining here in Michigan, it is a bit chilly out, but it is not too early to start thinking about golf. And we have our 35th annual golf outing, which we held on June 10th. Again, look for more information to come out, because we're just now getting excited to have that event happen within the organization, but that'll be June 10th at our golf outing, and some great and exciting new things coming the way, bringing back some previous events, as well as new offerings and workshops that are coming down the pipe. So take a view at askforangela.com.